All right, cheers, guys. Welcome to the Water Cooler, baby. All right, the Water Cooler is a show about marketing, sales, and technology. Each episode, we focus on bringing you advice that works. You can tune in live and join the conversation with hundreds of real estate agents on our Facebook page, live every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. You can also catch over 100 episodes, our recordings on YouTube, on iTunes, on Stitcher, we're on Spotify. I think we're even on iHeartRadio. So if you want to check out the previous recordings, you can check out those out wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Jimmy Mackin. I'm joined by my partner in crime, best-selling author of The Conversion Code, Chris Smith. Chris, welcome to the call, buddy.
What's up, Jimmy? Never in doubt. Another week, another water cooler.
Absolutely. Well, this week's going to be a great show for us, Chris, because we're doing something that is going to be, for me personally, one of the most interesting topics we've covered, because we're going very deep on how to generate motivated seller leads. We're giving people 10 steps to generate motivated seller leads. And this is something I find that a lot of people right now, they're good at generating leads via buyer leads or seller leads, but they actually don't know how to turn the corner. And we're going to go into 10 different ways you can do that. But before we do, in traditional water cooler fashion, we're giving away an awesome giveaway. This is one of my favorite giveaways we've given away actually in recent shows. I want you to tell the fans what we're giving away today.
Well, Jimmy, we are giving away a brick. We are giving away, I don't know if we can cut to the one shot here.
Yeah.
But this is like an amazing Bible that Warren Buffett has built. This is actually 50 years worth of the letters to the shareholders at Berkshire Hathaway. I mean, Jimmy, this is kind of cool in the back. It actually shows the growth of the Berkshire Hathaway holdings.
Yeah.
That's actually their increase for their customers over time. This has every letter that Warren Buffett has ever sent to every shareholder. This actually cost almost $60 on Amazon right now. And as a side note, if you did ever need to knock someone out, I mean, listen, Jimmy, I mean, this thing's big, dude. This thing's huge. So we're giving away 3 of these while we're live on the air. And if you'd like to win, it's very simple. Hit the share button on this Facebook Live right now. Share the live stream in a Facebook group. Share the live stream on your profile. And that is all you have to do to enter to win. And we actually give this away while we're live on the air. So we're announcing the contest now. Hit share to win. And then at the end of this episode, while we're on the air, we'll let you know if you won or not.
Love it. So let's get right into it, Chris. The first step we have right now is a tactic that I think every single person who's listening could execute immediately to help them actually generate more motivated seller leads. I want you to talk me through this concept of how you turn buyer leads into seller leads.
Yeah, well, it's important because let's be real for a second. This is bad language, but the most easiest way, Jimmy, to get leads on the internet for real estate agents is buyers. So buyers, you can get that quantity.
Yeah.
But everybody wants a seller. So there's 2 things you can do that will actually turn your buyer leads into seller leads. And it's basically through email or through text if you get an email or a phone number. And it's literally the I forgot to ask technique. And I want everybody to do 2 things here. Number 1, I want you to take all your old buyer leads that haven't been responding or that kind of ghosted you. And I want you to send a mass email to them. And I want that email to say, I forgot to ask, did you need to sell your current home before you buy the next one? Like, what people don't realize is that about 30% of people that are buying a home have to sell a home first.
Yeah.
So if you get 100 buyer leads, 30 of them own a home. And if you don't ask, if you don't mention that you might be one of the people that needs to sell before you buy, because guess what, Jimmy? If I need to sell before I buy, now I'm not just interested in listings, I'm interested in CMAs, I'm interested in comps. You see what I'm saying? So number 1, go back and make up for never doing this and do a mass email to catch up. But number 2, this is really where it gets exciting. I want everybody to bake this message into their action plans when they get new buyer leads. Zillow lead comes in. Hey, did you want to go see the home? Sure. Okay, by the way, do you need to sell one before you buy? So it's 2 steps, Jimmy. One is you do a bulk email to ask all the buyer leads you forgot to ask.
Yep.
And then 2 is you add a drip email, probably email number 2, email number 3, like in the sequence. And that drip email, which is going to go out every time you ever get another buyer lead, is going to ask the question for you. Yeah. It's a great strategy. It works. And it's one of the easiest ways to find motivated sellers. Because think about it, Jimmy. If I'm already shopping for my next house, I probably don't want to spend a whole lot of time selling the one I'm in.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You kind of already closed that chapter in your life. Now, you mentioned putting it as email number 2 or email number 3. Why not email number 5 or number 7 or number 10?
Well, as you know, Jimmy, time destroys all things. So I want people to understand, like, if this is your open rate with leads, this is your open rate over time. See that? So if your open rate starts really high, which a new subscriber is the most likely to open, the email number 1 and 2 get opened infinitely more than email number 12 and 13.
Yeah.
So the problem is if it's drip email number 5, no one reads that. So you want to front load it so that it definitely gets opened and read at the highest rate possible.
Yeah, super important piece of advice there, Chris. This idea of sort of front loading the campaigns that really are going to drive the ship here for you.
Yeah, and Jimmy, let me set you up for tip number 2 because, for a long time when you think about capturing a seller lead online, a lot of the tactics include home value ads. And I'm actually going to talk about how to do home value ads the right way so that you get come list me leads. But I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. What you're going to go through here is like, how can we use a landing page so that we generate motivated sellers? Talk me through that.
Yeah, so the most important aspect of a landing page, Chris, and this is something that exceeds or supersedes the design, is the offer. You have to have an offer that is so compelling, a deliverable that's so compelling that it's actually worth someone parting with their information. So a lot of people make the mistake of having this sort of like either ridiculous offers that are not compelling, or they make offers that are sort of not relevant for the consumer. But when you start to position the offer as something that is absolutely irrefutable valuable for the consumer, and here's a trick, learn something about them, you can then begin to sort of cherry pick the highest quality leads you have in your database and the highest quality leads who are coming to your website. So you're looking at a landing page right now. If you're watching live on Facebook, you're seeing this landing page one of our clients, Grant and Gia Freer, had created, called the Palm Beach Premier Real Estate Guide. And essentially what they're doing here, Chris, is they're giving away a downloadable guide for, how to sell your home and have success doing so. So right away, the offer itself, Chris, it's comprehensive. It has a lot of information, but you learn something about the individual who is downloading it. Because if someone's downloading this guide, Chris, they're not at the very top of the funnel. They're much more closer in that sort of decision part of the process. The second thing they do here, which is super smart, and this is a great tactic you can use, is a wonderful book everyone should check out. Robert Cialdini, he wrote a book called Influence, and he talks about the concept of social proof. And you'll notice here that they're using the line, the guide every seller should read before they list. Now, what that does is it makes you feel like you're missing out, or other people are reading something, or other people are smarter than you and they're checking this thing out, and you're kind of drawn into it, as an example. But I do want to give a few landing page tips here as well, Chris, because right now you have the offer. It has to be super compelling to get someone to either click or convert. The copy should be well written to persuade them. But in addition to that, Chris, you'll notice there's no header on the landing page. No additional links. There's no footer. And they're also using, and I want you to talk about this for a moment, they're also using microcopy. And this is something a lot of people actually miss, is actually using microcopy in their landing pages, but no header, no footer, no additional distractions, and they're leveraging microcopy. Talk to me for one moment about the importance of microcopy.
Yeah, well, the first thing is it's one page, one purpose, right? And that is really the key, is if you build a page that has a bunch of goals, it won't accomplish any of them.
Yeah.
Now, Jimmy, what does that microcopy say? It's a little blurry on my screen.
Yeah, it says thinking of selling your home, click here.
Okay. And where does that go? Do you know?
It would go to their real estate marketing page, which talks about how they actually sell their home.
Okay.
How they help them
so let me give you guys, so you see the little sentence below the button. That's what Jimmy's talking about. This is a technique, Jimmy, that I call losing the traffic to yourself. Okay. So what that means is every landing page that you build is going to capture a certain percentage of leads. So let's say hypothetically, that page is beautiful. Like, I want that guide. That was your point. Like, this is called a lead magnet, you guys. Look it up. If your lead magnet doesn't have a stronger polar pull than their email address, it doesn't work. So I love that Grant and Gia did that. It makes me want to download it. It looks beautiful. But the reality is, you know, studying the conversion code and doing what we do, Jimmy, even the best landing pages in the world are going to maybe generate 20% conversion, 30% conversion. So what does that mean? That means that 70% or more of the people that go here won't take the bait. It means that sometimes 90% of them won't take the bait. So the concept is we make it crystal clear how to register. But if we're going to lose 20% of the people, no matter what we do, that micro copy allows you to lose them to yourself.
Yeah.
Now you still get that 20% conversion rate, but instead of 80% of the people just leaving, like half of them might click on the micro copy and stay in your funnel.
Yeah, it's a really brilliant concept that we coach at Curaytor, and the idea that Chris just perfectly articulated is that you either want the person to click or convert. If they're not going to fill the information out, like your line, which I love, Chris, is lose the traffic to yourself. So
but Jimmy, you're losing it to something relevant and related. Like you mentioned, the header's gone.
Yeah.
You're not losing it because they went to look at your Twitter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not losing it because they went to like read your bio. You're losing it to another part of your site that educates further on the same topic. I love it. I think it looks great.
Yeah, very cool. And Chris, we just actually got about 80 new viewers from that previous share. And guys, if you're just joining us right now, we actually are giving away a copy of the, we're calling it the Brick, which is Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway Letters to Shareholders, which to me, listen, I love material like this, Chris, because I love reading Jeff Bezos' letters to a shareholder. I love reading his quarterly reports. Like they're always forward-facing statements that can educate you about where the world is going. So here's how you guys can enter to win. We're giving away 3 copies of this book. They're $60 each. All you have to do is share this live stream in or on your profile in a Facebook group with other realtors. At the end of today's show, Chris is going to be giving away 3 copies of Warren Buffett's book, his letter to shareholders over the last 50 years. Chris, tip number 3. This is a tactic that you love to execute, which is resurrecting old and dead leads. And well, this is something I think is, you have to use it strategically. I know you have a name for this email, but I want you to talk to me about this email and sort of when you use it, how you use it, and why you use it.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I want to do is be really transparent with the audience right now. I'm drinking breakfast, I'm drinking lunch, I got a smoothie, and I'm drinking dinner, Jimmy. Jesus.
It's a water.
I got the trifecta. I mean, this is hump day if there ever was one. But so there was an email that was invented by an internet marketer about a decade ago. And his name was Dean Jackson.
Yep.
And he's a great guy. If you guys look him up, he's a copywriting king. That's what I would call him. He is an email marketing wizard.
Yep.
And so a lot of times when you do a sales email, Jimmy, there's a lot of data that'll say, hey, if you want to convince someone to buy something, you've got to use about 2,000 words. Your sales emails, your sales pages. For a long time, people thought the only way to convert a lead was to put in a ton of copy. Well, what Dean did, and I highlighted this in my book, and of all the tips in my book, this is the one, Jimmy, that people seem to execute and get results from every time. So let me be really clear. This is the one that people execute, they get results, they email me and say, holy crap, that was amazing. And it's very simple. It's actually a 9-word email.
Yeah.
So what Dean Jackson figured out is like, sometimes you just have to give people a simple, easy to answer question, even if you're sending it to a lot of people. So this is the email. It's on the screen. Quick question. Are you going to sell your home this year? Are you going to sell your home soon? That email, whether it's old seller leads that are unresponsive, Jimmy, let's be real. You could send that to 30 of your past clients and they would respond. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The point is, we live in a world where people like microwaves more than ovens. If your emails are ovens and they're not 5 seconds, 8 seconds, you're missing out. And so it's short, it's concise. like if you get an email, Jimmy, that says quick question, it's already more appealing than long question, right? But this is so easy to answer, yes or no.
Yeah.
And what we found is that you can actually send this to like 500 leads that have never replied, or like 1,000 leads that have never replied. And literally you'll get like a dozen people like, yeah, we're actually going to sell our home soon. Thanks for keeping in touch. Now, are you going to get some no's? Of course. But you're giving them an easy to answer question. This is a wet technique. Works every time. By the way, Jimmy, pro tip, use it for buyers too. You know what I'm saying? I know we're talking about motivated sellers.
Yeah.
But like, if you take all the buyer leads that have never responded and you say, quick question, are you actually still buying a home soon? Question mark. You're going to get like 21 people like, yeah, thanks for keeping in touch. No one else did.
Yeah.
So the 9-word email, use it on your old seller leads, use it selectively with your past clients, and then remix it for your buyers.
Yeah.
Great tip.
Yeah, I love it. And one small variation of this technique, Chris, and it reminds me of our boy Chris Voss uses this line, have you given up? So using that same exact format, have you given up on trying to sell your home this year? Like you may even get more responses, maybe a lot more no's, like, you know, what are you talking about? I wasn't planning on selling, but you know, you can make some small variations, but the brilliance in this.
Well, I think on the buyer side, it's beautiful, Jimmy. Have you given up on buying a home?
Yeah.
That's a perfect 9-word email, Chris Voss version. Absolutely.
Yeah. Love it.
All right, Jimmy, I got a question for you.
Yes, fire away, buddy.
So we're very blessed. We get mainstream press. So we've been featured in Entrepreneur. We've been featured by Inc. We've been featured by Forbes. We've been featured in USA Today. Like, that is important. You know, the accolades, the press, and you've actually got a way to use the local press to get motivated sellers.
Yeah.
How does that work?
You know, there's 3 or 4 websites I visit every single day, Chris. You know, Facebook and Instagram, maybe something like Product Hunt. But the one that I visit every single day is my local paper here in Boston, boston.com. I think every consumer who's watching right now, every viewer who's watching right now probably relates to that. Like, you check the mainstream news, you get it via Facebook, via Twitter, but you're still checking your local sites. You're still reading your local papers, even if it is digitally. Sally Daly, one of our clients who has 20 years experience in PR, she's actually generated $1.1 million in listings off of this campaign I'm about to share with you guys. And I asked her for her tips because I said, Sally, how did you get featured in a local publication? And you guys are going to take a look at the article here in just a moment. As you guys can see with the post, the first thing is that she's using what we love to coach, inbound marketing, content marketing, as the hook. House is not selling, 7 reasons why. So first off, that headline, Chris, that's a great headline. It sort of draws you immediately into the emotional connection of like someone who's being frustrated by not selling their home. So she was able to accomplish that in 5 words, which is super impressive. But I asked Sally what was her sort of 20 years experience, what were her PR tips to get featured? Because if you're going to create something of value, how do you get the local press to actually pay attention to it? And so here's her advice to me, because I wrote this down, Chris. She gave me 3 really simple tips. The first one is, if you're going to pitch a local PR or local paper, you've got to obsess over the reader. You can't think about what is the thing that I'm promoting. You're going to have to ask yourself the question, what is the reader going to get out of it? So therefore, the angle in which you're presenting is going to be much different than simply saying I have some new content. Specifically with this article, you know, what she probably have done here, she could have said simply like, hey, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but 30% of the homes listed in our market actually don't sell. And this is a huge pain point for consumers who are living locally. So that already draws in the editor to
right there. You're like, oh, that sounds like an article.
Yeah, exactly. So she's doing a lot of the hard work there. So you have to think of the reader. Number 2, she goes, think about the editor. And she talks about this idea how editors are all overworked, they're underpaid, and you have to make it really easy for them to say yes to you. So thinking about, in their perspective, why should I pay attention to this? Is it going to be easy for me to produce this information? Is it going to be easy for me to source this information? So taking all the heavy lifting out of the photos, the copy, the sources, makes it easier for the editor to say, yeah, that's actually pretty straightforward. We can get that published, in the next week's column. The third tip she gave, which to me, you have no problem executing. She used the phrase opine away. Now, I had to look up what opine means.
Yeah,
it means to
I
have
have no idea.
Yeah, it means to have a strong opinion about something. And so this is, and I want you to tell your press story if we could, just for a moment about how we got
I've already
featured.
got a note here to do it.
Okay. But opine away. What she's really saying is if you want to get featured in a local paper and get some press, you have to have an opinion.
Yeah.
Being in the middle is boring. Hey, it's a good time to buy, but maybe not. Hey, it's a good time to sell, maybe not. Like that, you have to have an opinion about what you do and what you say in order for someone to want to pay attention. So those 3 tips are: number 1, make it easy for the reader or make it compelling for the reader. Number 2, focus on making it easier for the editor. And number 3, have a damn opinion about what you believe, because that's going to help you actually attract, editors to want to feature you in their local paper. $1.1 million in listings off this one article, Chris.
And this is Sally, right?
This is Sally Daly.
She's great. I hope she's watching. Sally, you are a pleasure to work with. You are an absolute awesome person. And this industry doesn't have enough of those. So my example is actually when we reached out to get press when we started Curaytor. And what a lot of people watching right now don't know is we originally launched Curaytor as a search engine for Facebook groups. Like, I don't think a lot of people know that. And so I was up, Jimmy, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. the night before Curaytor launched. And I'm doing what everybody on this call is doing. I'm just hustling. So I go online, I do a quick Google search. Who are the top technology bloggers? Because they're going to want to hear from me. You know what I mean? So I end up learning about and reading about Kara Swisher. Kara Swisher is by far the most well-known technology journalist out there.
Yeah.
Like, she interviewed Steve Jobs on stage just to get, she's the one that made Zuck sweat, Jimmy. Remember when she made Zuck share the secret code in his jacket?
The Illuminati sweatshirt.
Oh my God. And he starts sweating on stage. He's like, can I take this thing off? I'm getting a little sweaty. Like, she's good. So I reached out to her and I basically did what Sally just said. Like, my subject line wasn't even to Kara.
Yeah.
My subject line said, yo, Zuck, our search is better than yours. That's what the subject line said. Because Facebook, as we announced the thing we built, they announced that they had just built Facebook search.
Yeah.
And the reality was that ours was better than theirs.
Yeah.
Ours was smarter and more innovative than theirs. So I emailed Kara. I said, hey, Kara, our search is better than Zuck's search. Here's why. And I'd love to give you this article. Jimmy, she replied back about 3 hours later. She said, I want it if I can have the exclusive. And I had already given the article to someone, so kind of fucked that up, quite frankly. But we did end up getting written up in Pando Daily. It came out under an article called Entrepreneurship and the Bad Timing Blues.
Yeah.
It actually ended up being all about how these guys had put their life's work into launching this company, and Zuckerberg smashed them on day one. But that's obviously not the case. But, it is one of those things that if you don't reach out to these folks, now let's be real for a second. Like, Susie Struthers at Channel 6 is a lot easier to get to, Jimmy. I'm sorry. Like, Brian Lord, the freaking business broadcaster from Fox News 11 down the street in Orlando, I'm sliding in his DM and I'm not scared. You know what I'm saying? So if it works mainstream and if it works from a national strategy, great to see it working for Sally. Yeah, it can work for you too.
Well, you just mentioned using social media to kind of slide into the DM for journalists, but there's other ways you can slide into the DM. Yeah, and I think you have a tactic here to help us generate more motivated seller leads by sliding into the DM. And I want you to walk me through the strategy here, because I think a lot of people on social media, Chris, that if they spend half the time they do, stop lurking and actually start just sending people messages, the output and the performance of their marketing campaigns would go up, tenfold. So just talk me through this idea of using sort of that open-ended question to get people to, react to you and obviously try to basically start a conversation with them.
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. Like, the people that are going to be motivated to work with you are definitely going to be a lot of times the people that already worked with you, or the people that already know you, or the people that already trust you. So what the 3 strategy does is it gets you 2 to 3 appointments every day. I mean, most of the people listening, they don't even have 2 or 3 appointments a week, Jimmy. So let's be real. 2 to 3 appointments a day. And all you do, it's very simple. You're going to wake up every morning and you're going to log on to Facebook Messenger. Okay. and you're going to look on that little bracket on the side, Jimmy, that shows who's online.
Yeah.
And the only rule is that they have to be your friend, and it has to have a green dot. That way you know they're online right now. And you're going to send them a very simple message. You're going to say, hey, I'm working on a big project at work. Would you mind if I pick your brain later today? That's it. You're going to basically tell them that you're working on a project at work and you'd love to pick their brain a little bit later today because you really value their opinion. Mm-hmm. And because you know these people and because you're chatting it on Facebook, like typically, Jimmy, I can't even send the third one before the first two people say, sure. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, you guys, your work is that you sell homes. So the thing you talk to about them could be, you know, I'm talking to as many of my friends as I can that I think are super smart. And I'm doing a survey about if people are selling their home this year or not. Like, is there any chance you're selling your home this year? And if not, why not? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you just write an article about 17 people that are selling their home this year and 4 that aren't, and why. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's a way to create a conversation on the phone with your past clients in Sphere about real estate and doing it every morning. And I think the technique I use, Jimmy, let me do some math really quick, okay? So there's 52 weeks in a year, right? But we're going to say there's 5 days in a work week, right? Mm-hmm. So, Jimmy, there's 260 business days a year. Let me take out a few. Let me take out like 30 days for vacations and for holidays. So I'm at 230 business days, minus vacations, minus holidays. And I'm suggesting people do 3 of these each Monday through Friday, times 3. That is 690 messages a year by sending 3 a day. And what I'm calculating, Jimmy, is that you're going to be able to get about a 0.67 response rate, meaning 2 out of every 3 people, because it's your Sphere and your friends, they're going to want to talk.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, with one simple thing you can do each morning, Jimmy, that is 462 conversations about real estate per year.
The math adds up, my friend.
If I could drop this mic, I would, damn it.
Please do not.
Now, Jimmy, here's the thing. Part of what attracts people to us is us, right? Like if people like you, if people feel like they know you, I feel like they're a lot more likely to kind of reach through the internet and want to work with you. Yeah. You know, most of our clients started out as fans of this show.
Sure.
And whether it was 10 shows or whether it was 3 shows or whatever it was, they got to know us. Why did they get to know us? They got to know us, Jimmy, because the way humans communicate is not just words. Like words are part of it, but physiology is a big part of it. I mean, I watch these replays sometimes and I have no idea what you know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I do it.
Yeah.
So physiology is a big part of how we understand people. So is tone. So if I just write an email, they don't see me and they don't hear my passion.
Yeah.
But if I do a video, they see me, they hear me. Talk about how to find motivated sellers by using video outreach.
Yeah, well, you actually had this in the conversion code, and I might quote this incorrectly, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe about 55% of body language, or 55% of communication is body language.
Absolutely.
38% is tone, and 7% is word.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So when you think about that for a second, as Chris was just articulating, as you see us move, as we smile, we move our hands around, we're drinking beers, like you get a feeling which you can't get via text. And although we have examples of emails that we think will absolutely kill it for you, like there's nothing that replaces, you know, that kind of human connection that you can have. And in the digital world, using video and email is something that we've been long proponents of. Our favorite tool in the space is BombBomb. We're huge fans of BombBomb. They've been great partners of us for Curaytor for a long time. And I asked Steve and Ethan to send us over, Steve Passanelli and Ethan, to send us over some stats on video email here for a second, Chris. They said 68% of their customers convert more leads using video. 84% of their customers get more replies. compared to traditional text emails. And what you guys are seeing right now is an example of one of our clients, Brian Powers, who's sending out, this is Brian before he had the beard, he's sending an email out that says, pending home sales decline. First off, that's actually an interesting subject line. I think if you go that kind of contrarian angle where it's a negative, you're sort of drawn into it. But then he has this question, this open-ended question, which is it good or bad? And that opens up what we call a curiosity gap, where in the mind of the consumer, they're asking themselves this question, well, I don't actually really know. And the thing that Brian does so brilliantly well here, besides the fact that he's using subtitles in his BombBomb video, which I love, is the fact that he's actually has the video featured above the content. And if you actually were to scroll down, Chris, he probably is saying what the text says. And I think this is actually a pro tip. If you're going to use video and email to generate highly motivated seller leads, and you're going to be talking about the market, and you're using, a technique like a curiosity gap, if you write the email out in advance, you've written the script, Chris. You've written the script. Now, when you say, what do I say on camera to explain this content? I'm just saying what I just wrote. That's all I'm doing. And I'm delivering it in a different format. So for me, knowing that video converts at a higher rate, knowing that you get more replies of video, and knowing that communication is 55% body language, I can't think of any good reason why not every single person watching right now doesn't start using video in their email to convert more seller leads into basically appointments here.
Yeah, and obviously you could do that by text. You could, in theory, you could hack YouTube and do it that way. We love BombBomb. You don't have to have it. Sure. It definitely makes it better and simpler. And really quick, let's give a props to Steve and Ethan. Like, they have a book coming out called Rehumanize Your Business, and they're actually going to be sharing all of the best videos, the best ways to film them, the best ways to distribute them, the examples of using them in service and sales. So I can't give our audience the exact date, but we are going to be interviewing Ethan and Steve about their new book on the water cooler very soon, which is exciting. So if you guys are excited about that, hit the thumbs up. We're huge fans of BombBomb. Jimmy, one of our core values here at Curaytor is it starts with us. And what that means is we don't typically like to give advice that we don't take.
Sure.
So just to give people a little bit of insight into our world, what I do is at the end of every month, as the owner, as the prominent founder.
Is that what you're calling yourself these days? Come on.
As the more prominent public figure.
Okay.
No, but what I do, Jimmy, is like I have Darren and Jeremy send me the leads they think are most likely to buy, but haven't signed yet. Okay. And I literally did it last month. I did 31 BombBomb videos.
Sure.
And they're short and they're simple. Hey, Susie, I know you've been talking to Jeremy. He said you're a great fit. I'm guessing that you're excited to join. We can't wait to have you as a part of our community. If you have any questions, any concerns about Curaytor before you get started, just reply to this text or email and let me know.
Yeah.
So we practice what we preach. In fact, I wrote one of the endorsements, Jimmy, on the back of their book. It's like Daniel Pink and me. Because I do believe in video. I have been using video from day one. Go back to Tech Savvy Agent. Steve Passanelli and I, our first ever video on the internet was together at backstage at a Keller Williams event. So I'm just so bullish on this. It's obviously a huge best practice. Now, one thing to remember, we're talking today about generating motivated sellers, okay? So the tactics that we're deploying are going to find people that want to list and want to work with you right now. But the other thing that we put together recently, and you guys can all go get this right now, we actually put together the 19 fastest ways to get listings. Now, these may not be people that are quite as motivated as the tactics we're going through today, but if you are watching this and you need listings right now, we already put out the 19 fastest ways. You can go right now to curaytor.com/download, and we will give you all 19. There's email templates, there's scripts, there's stuff for Instagram, there's stuff for the mail, there's stuff for your listing presentation. Like, if you are looking to get listings and get them this week, you definitely want to download that because it's amazing. There's 19 ways, there's videos, there's scripts, there's templates. So if you take the concept of the fastest ways, and then you marry that with the tactics that find motivated folks, This is the key to getting listings, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Is making it a priority, strategizing about it, trying, making it part of your daily and weekly and monthly focus and marketing plan, which most people just don't do. So anyway, Curaytor.com/download the 19 fastest ways to get listings right now. It's a great piece of content.
One thing that just jumped out to me before we move on to the next tip here is, and just a quick shout out to our friend and mentor from afar, Brad Inman, who just joined the live stream. I saw him coming into the chat here just a minute ago. If you guys aren't following Inman News, you guys should absolutely read them every single day. It's where I get my industry news is Inman. I get my local news from Boston.com. I get my industry news from Inman.
Well, Jimmy, real quick, let me say one thing about Brad, because I used to work for Brad. So Brad was nice enough one time to call us the coolest guys in real estate. And we appreciated that. We put it on our website. It made us literally blush. Well, what I would say is that Brad Inman is the coolest guy in the history of real estate. I mean, he is. So we may be cool now. Brad's been cool since he started Inman in 98. Brad's been interviewing these huge tech CEOs from day one. Like Zillow launched at Inman. Curaytor launched at Inman.
That's right.
So Brad Inman is the coolest guy in real estate. There's no arguing that.
Yeah, I love it. Well, welcome to the call, Brad. So the point I wanted to make before we move on to the next tip here, because I want you to talk about the importance of Instagram and a tactic we can use to generate motivated seller leads on Instagram. But you just gave me an idea that I think not many people actually do, Chris. You use this technique, the second voice technique, which is essentially following up with leads via a video. I don't know why more teams or brokers don't do this for their agents. Hey, send me your 10 best leads. Send me your 10 hottest prospects. I will shoot a video. I will reach out on your behalf, because it actually makes the consumer feel really special. Getting a message from their boss, a message from their CEO. So I just think the second voice technique is a really smart idea.
Yeah, imagine, Jimmy, if a pool guy came to your house.
Yeah.
And you were pretty much going to work with that pool guy. And then all of a sudden you got an email from the owner of the company that said, hey, I know that you met with my guy today, and it looks like we're going to be building your pool. I just wanted to thank you for your business. I'm the owner. Here's my information if you ever have a question.
That warm, fuzzy feeling, man.
Oh, man, I love that stuff.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into Instagram. Obviously, Instagram is the future of marketing. We keep beating that drum. Before we give away the tip, I just want you to give a little bit of context around why you're so bullish on Instagram right now.
Well, that's a loaded question, Jimmy. Let me just say one. We are going to be making a big announcement about Instagram on January 20th. So 2 weeks from today, the whole water cooler is going to be about Instagram. We're going to teach you guys how to do stories and polls and ads and swipe up and DM. We're going to teach you guys everything you need to know about Instagram. But I'm going to give you guys a couple reasons Instagram matters a lot. Number one, stories are taking over as being more popular than the news feed this year. So that vertical view, that story view, that permission marketing, right? When somebody clicks on it and they want to see it versus opening up their feed and seeing what the algorithm chooses. The other thing is Instagram stories are the fastest growing product in the history of Facebook. So they're skyrocketing. But what's crazy to me, there was a tweet that we found that went viral. Instagram is the QVC for millennials. Like my wife saves the ads on Insta.
Yeah.
She DMs me the ads on Insta. Like we have some great millennials that work here for us. You know what they told me, Jimmy? If you want me to see your ad, that's the only place I'm going to see it.
Yeah.
So Instagram, not only is it blowing up, it's also the place that people that did stop using Facebook as much flocked, which is very ironic, of course. It's like, I'm deleting Facebook and I'm going to go use Instagram, which is owned by Facebook. But anyway, but the reality is they've got a stranglehold on social media.
Yeah.
Because if you quit Instagram, you're going to go use WhatsApp. If you go use Twitter, they'll buy that. You know what I mean? They'll go buy Snapchat. Whatever they need to buy, they're going to buy.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I want to teach is a very simple technique here, Jimmy. Instagram polls are one of the easiest ways to do a story.
And
right?
Chris, real quickly, just what was the date of the Instagram water?
That is going to be March 20th.
Thank you.
2 weeks from today.
Perfect.
We're doing a mega special all about Instagram.
Cool.
But the polls are very simple. You do a story, you click add poll, you type a question, and you put yes or no, or you put thumbs up or thumbs down, or you put smiley face, sad face, right? You give people 2 answers. So what you can do is you can just do a poll, which is going to be seen by your friends, and you can have the poll say, quick question, are you thinking about selling your home this year? Yes or no? That's it. And all you do is for the people that say no, not really that concerned with them, Jimmy. Now I have a little bit of data that makes me feel a little bit less inclined to focus on them this year. If they say yes, I'm going to slide in the DM. It goes down in the DM.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, hey, I noticed that you're selling your home this year. I'd love to send you what your neighbor just sold theirs for, because it'll probably impact your home's value.
How often can you go back to the well on this? Because obviously this technique, everyone's going to do it today. They're going to get a few people raising their hand. Like, how often do you go back to the well on a fastball like this?
Well, number one, you can do this on Facebook too. So do a Facebook story poll and an Instagram story poll.
Okay.
I'm going back to the well. Like, people move on so fast, Jimmy. It's a great question. Like this is definitely part of my monthly mix.
Yeah.
You know, because you could say, are you selling your home this week? Are you selling your home soon? Are you selling your home this summer? Are you selling your home this fall? Are you selling your home next year? I mean, you can ask it a lot of different ways. So I certainly wouldn't do this daily or weekly, but I think a monthly poll in that vein makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and you just gave me an idea as you're going through that. I think if you ask, if you can ask a public question, you can ask it more frequently than if you ask a direct one-to-one question. Because you can't send the email every month to everyone saying, "Hey, do you want to sell your home this month?" But if it's a public-facing question, you're sort of like opting in to be exposed to this information. So you're sort of fair game at that point. So it feels like there's a ratio there. If it's a public question, you can ask it more frequently. If it's a direct question, a little less frequently.
Yeah, and Jimmy, we're going to go from one extreme, which is new media, like Instagram's the new big thing, the next big thing, the big thing right now. But the other way to find motivated sellers is through the mail. I mean, there's too many clients at Curaytor that have been doing marketing through the mail for too long.
Yeah.
And have had it work. But at the same time, man, I get a lot of mail at my house, Jimmy, and the only time they get my attention is as I carry them to the garbage. Now I do recycle, so I put them in the recycling bin. But what in the world are you about to suggest? You're about to suggest that we can generate motivated sellers using mail?
Yeah, we like to say that the mailbox is sexy again. And I think one of the things that's interesting, and what we're trying to preach at Curaytor, is this idea that you can take these social strategies, these digital strategies, and you can actually put them to work for you in the real world through traditional media. And here's the thing that's actually really interesting to me, Chris, is that it's really inexpensive to do a poll on Instagram. It's damn near free, right? If you don't count your time. It's not that expensive to run a Facebook ad. You can test out different ideas in digital, and the winners of those ideas can then become your traditional campaigns. A lot of people, they have this sort of, think about an idea, it's hope and pray, and they send a campaign out. And all of a sudden, they drop $3,000 to send a shitty mailer out to their entire neighborhood that no one responds to. So I think the first thing, before we actually cover the specific technique here, folks, is you have to test your traditional campaigns digitally first. If they don't work on social, they ain't going to work in the mailbox. Now, the technique you're looking at here, Chris, is the technique called loss aversion, which is, we know that consumers have a tendency to prefer avoiding loss over gain. So what we're basically saying to the consumer here is, on the left-hand side, this would sort of be the front of the card. And I realize this postcard doesn't have the actual address and all that stuff, but you guys get the general gist of it here. On the left-hand side is don't lose your equity. And we're using, emojis, we're using big, bold font. And on the back side of it, we're talking about how the equity is your profit and how we can basically help you sell your home for more money than the average agent. Click here to call, and we give some stats behind it. But this technique of loss aversion actually creates this emotional connection with the consumer, Chris, where they feel like the equity that they have earned by paying down their mortgage, by being in the house for 5 years. It is something that they actually own. So losing something that you own is far greater influence or persuasion than just simply gaining something new. So I personally am just simply a fan of not only the angle using loss aversion, but more importantly, using proven digital marketing strategies in the mailbox.
Yeah, let me give you a follow-up to that, because my first ever social media influencer package way back in the day, was from Kodak. So Kodak mailed me a big box of goodies because of my blog and my YouTube channel.
Yep.
And the goodies was, remember that little camera, Jimmy? I forget what it was called. It was like I hate not remembering the name, but it was like a vertical camera. And it might have been called a Zoom or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
But everybody had this one version of a Kodak camera.
It was
if you guys remember
HD
what it was
on
called
phones.
in the chat, remind me. But there was a Kodak camera that was very popular, and everybody had one. So I got the camera in the mail, and I opened up the box, and the thing that got me the most excited about on the box, Jimmy. Did you find the camera? Are you finding the camera name
right now?
I want to say it was like a flip. My God, it kills me.
I'll see if the fans know here, because
the fans must know. They've got to know. So I get this camera and I'm looking at the box, and the thing that got me the most excited when I got the box, Jimmy, was that it had all the social media icons on the box.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh shit, this camera works with Facebook? Because this is like 09, okay, 010. Like it was like super early days. I'm like, oh my God, this camera is compatible with Twitter? This is amazing. So I take the camera and I did a video, and I'm trying to upload it to Twitter and Facebook, and I couldn't figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the camera didn't even have Wi-Fi. I'm like, how is this going to work? So I hit up the Kodak rep that has sent me the swag. I said, excuse me, I'm trying to use the Facebook posting tool and the Twitter posting tool, and I can't figure out how that works. They said, oh, all you got to do is after you take your video, you just take out the memory card. And then you put the memory card in your computer. And then you save what you videoed, and then you save it on your computer. And then on your computer, you can open up Facebook and Twitter, and you can share it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? That's like such a bait and switch. So I said, why would you guys do that? That's very frustrating. I feel very misled. He said, well, let me be honest with you. We did some research, and this goes back to your point, Jimmy. What we learned was that by simply having the social media icons on the box, people at the store were 20% more likely to pick it up off the shelf. And so when I look at the postcard you're showing, it's almost like an emoji is the new social media icon. I think that the way that postcard is designed, I mean, that looks like an Instagram post. That doesn't look like a postcard. And there's these rare sort of blocks in time where you can basically get more people to pick your stuff up and more people to turn your stuff over by simply putting really smart icons on them. Anyway, the Kodak, man. I mean, let's be honest. Where are they now, Jimmy?
Well, the camera that you were mentioning earlier, a few people were dropping the chat. It was the flip camera.
The flip. I got it.
The flip. Yeah. So you did get it, because what was the other one? Zoom. I think Zoom was that Microsoft that MP3 player that had many years ago.
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of mail. But the point would be, whether you're a retail store and you're making your box a little sexier, or you're a direct mail company and you're trying to get them to turn it or not throw it away, like you said, use what they're used to seeing elsewhere when they see your stuff. Now, Jimmy, the other place to find the most likely to list. It's funny. People want come list me calls. People want appointments. They don't want leads. People want layups. They don't want free throws. Or they want free throws. They don't want to shoot threes. Like, people want low hanging fruit. And quite frankly, Jimmy, the lowest hanging fruit to get listings would be the tree they already grow on. And where most of our clients and most of this industry gets their listings is from the people they already worked with. So how can I use my past clients in a way to find a motivated seller? Yeah,
there's a book that came out a couple of years ago called Brain Rules. And it talks about this concept about the sort of the power of a question. And what a question does, Chris, is it sort of freezes the consumer in that moment to think and pay attention to what you're asking. And a lot of times what happens when people send email campaigns out, they actually don't ask a direct question. It's one of the things that you were showing earlier with your 9-word email, or how to resurrect dead leads. Like, a question forces a consumer to stop. and think. And that's the most valuable asset we have as marketers, is sort of capturing their attention. So the email that I have for you right now, we're accomplishing a couple things here. The first thing is we're asking a simple, straightforward question in the subject line. What's your plan? And then we basically say, hey, at this point, it's a time of the year where all of my clients, again, I'm using that sort of social proof herd mentality language, all of my clients are planning out their real estate goals. So if I'm not planning on my real estate goals, I feel like I'm left behind. And then I said, which situation best describes your situation? And then I give them a couple options. So I think this gives the consumer an out. So if you send, do you need to sell your home? You might send that to a cold lead. It might not be the tone you would use with maybe your past client because you have a better relationship. This is sort of that softer version of that. So we say, number one, I have no plans. Number two, I'm curious how much my home is worth. Number three, I'm planning on making home improvements. Number four, I'm considering buying an investment property. Let me know ASAP so I can provide some really useful information. I'm looking forward to hearing your response.
I love it.
And quite simply, Chris, I think there's magic in simply asking questions that are easy to answer. Direct
Well, let me
questions
give
are
you an
easy to
example
answer.
of one that we did back in the day. Because we used to do an email that said, hey, what makes your home better than the other homes in your neighborhood? And a lot of people would reply to that, and they'd send a couple paragraphs. Everybody thinks their home's the best, right? But we changed it, and we said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the current condition of your home? And the reply rate tripled, because it's really easy to reply with a 10. What I could see people doing here, Jimmy, is saying 1 and 4, 2 and 3. Just 4. So by removing the friction in which they need to reply, they reply more. But here was the beauty of the tactic. They still tell you the rest. You don't even have to ask for it. So they would say 10, here's why. Or if you do this one, they're going to say 4, here's what we're thinking, right? So by all you're asking for is a simple number. But what you get is the number and the other stuff that you wouldn't have gotten if you would have made the first question too complicated. Quite frankly. But I love this. This is another wet technique, Jimmy. This is a technique that works every time for the people that execute it. One other little side note, we made a change on our site, Jimmy. And this is exciting for the audience, I feel like. Every episode now is going to get added to Curaytor. Curaytor.com on our blog. And all the slides and all the visuals are all going to be there for you guys. So if you're liking the slides, if you're looking for the template, if you're looking, right, we haven't put the first one up yet, Jimmy. Jess just built it out. If you go to the water cooler channel in Slack, you would see it in there. But long story short, we actually have a new post we're going to publish each week, because we had a lot of people asking us for the slides, asking us for the audio version, asking us to connect with us on social. So there's every week after the show, probably within 24 hours, you guys can get all the slides and all the visuals by just going to our blog. Jimmy, we're on the last tip.
So let me set you up for this one. So
please.
We are the company that I believe pioneered home value ads on Facebook 6-7 years ago now. And there was a time and place where there was the golden era of Facebook where you can throw one of these ads up with mediocre copy and get hundreds of leads. But what happened is people got a bunch of people who are not really interested in selling their home. They just want to know what the value was. That was it, right? But you have a technique right now that not only helps you capture seller leads, but helps you capture ones that are actually motivated using this 7-year-old technique we've been promoting over the last decade.
Well, the way that you get listings is CMAs, stats, and stories, right? You have to provide data, you have to provide info, or you have to be a good storyteller. So your last email was a little bit of storytelling, right? Hey, everybody's making their plan. But if you look at the screen, this is a technique, you guys, that I taught in my book. I teach it all the time. Qualify with copy. Okay. What most people think, Jimmy, is that the way that I get good leads is that I build the right audience to show the ad to. They think that as long as I choose a secret formula, then the ad will get me a good lead. That's just not quite the case. What gets you a good lead or a ready to list lead or a motivated seller is actually the copy. So if you look at the ad on the left, Jimmy, read that first sentence to me.
Sure. Thinking of selling your home soon.
Okay. So Jimmy, I'm just going to ask you, if you were not thinking of selling your home soon, would you click on that ad?
I would not.
Okay. Now, if you look at the image, how much is your home worth? If you look at the headline below the image, what's your home value? We're not doing that. But what we're doing is we're willing to repel the Zestimate seekers. We're willing to repel the tire kickers. And all we have to do to repel them is add one sentence.
Yeah.
Are you selling your home soon? Then you're going to want to know what it's worth. Now, when we did the ad in the past, it would have kind of not had the first sentence.
Yeah.
Would you like to know how much your home's worth? Go here, enter your info. We'll let you know. And so that's a good way to get quantity, but those are usually not motivated sellers. So by using copy in the ad, you can take an old proven ad that kind of got tired and you can make it new again. Now, Jimmy, read me the ad on the right, because this is to my point of stats.
Sure.
What does that ad say in the copy there?
The value of the U.S. housing market increased 1.9 trillion in 2018.
Love it. Does it say anything else?
Yes. Does want to know how much your house value went up as part of that?
Okay.
Click here.
What does it say in the copy at the bottom there?
It says find out how much your home is worth.
Cool. So think about this, guys. We're basically saying the market went up a ton, but that doesn't mean that yours did. That doesn't mean that you know how much of yours did. And like, if somebody's looking to time the market, right? Like, Jimmy, if you were selling your home and I said, hey man, I know you've been thinking about selling. It's a good thing you waited, because just in the last 12 months, values across the country went up by like 2 trillion. Do you want to know how much yours went up to see if it's time for you to sell? So it's really copy. It's really qualifying through copy. Now, I can't see the ad because it's blurry on my screen. But the other way you could do it is just take the technique on the left and add it to the right. If you're selling your home soon, I have great news for you.
Yeah.
Last year, you see what I'm saying? So this is just something that's really kind of easy to do because it's just words, Jimmy. You're just qualifying through copy. So there are a lot of ways to find motivated seller leads. We just gave you guys 10 ways. Now, Jimmy, I've got the winners here of the Warren Buffett book. I'm going to announce the 3 winners of the Warren Buffett book. But before I do that, if you're watching right now and you're like, man, why don't you guys just write my emails for me? Why don't you guys just write my articles for me? Why don't you guys just run my ads for me? That is what we do at Curaytor. Jimmy and I will personally develop and create your marketing for you. We're not a tech company. We're a marketing company. We are the best marketing company this industry has ever seen. What we believe is that your tech and your CRM and your tools are only as smart as the ideas and the strategies that you deploy using them. There's a lot of people that have every checkbox on the CRM and the system of their dreams, but they don't know what to do with it. It's like a Ferrari without a driver. So if you need help and you want me and Jimmy to do your marketing for you, you can go to curaytor.com/WC and you can set up a call with our team to see if you're a good fit. We are sold out in a lot of areas. And for us to do your marketing for you, it's not $50 a month. It's not $80 a month. It's a little bit more than that. So Jimmy, I've got the winners. Winner number 1, Andrew Bayan. Congratulations, Andrew Bayan. You are going to get a book. Jimmy, by the way, Andrew's a sharp guy. He's a client. He's actually a marketing person for a builder. That's a client. But he's a sharp guy. I'm glad he won. I don't choose these winners. Annette does. Winner number 2. And I couldn't be more excited that she won, Jimmy. Sally Daly. You're getting Sally. A free copy of the book.
That feels stacked.
Yeah. I mean, I can't be mad at Annette for doing that. Like, we showed off all her stuff. It feels pretty fair.
She earned it.
Yeah. So Andrew Bayan, congrats. Sally Daly, congrats. The last winner is Dan Nolan. Dan Nolan from Exit Realty. Congrats, buddy. All you guys have to do to claim your prize is email our community manager, Jillian at Curaytor. Com. Like Jimmy mentioned earlier, if you want to catch the replay, head over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. If you prefer the audio version, we're all over the podcast scene, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and you can hit subscribe to get notified here on Facebook every time we go live. We're the only show you need to grow your business. Cheers. Have a great week, guys.